In last week's Torah portion, we read about the very wise way that Rivka convinces Yaakov to do something he never wanted to do. To go and take the blessings that Yitzhak had intention to give to his older brother Esav. Nevertheless, mommy always knows best. And therefore, Yaakov listened to his mother Rivka and went and personified Esav and took his blessings. After that, miraculously, divinely oriented, Esav and Yaakov missed each other on their way out. When Yaakov goes out, Esav came in. There's different commentaries. Some opinions say that Yaakov went out from one door and at that same moment Esav went in from another door, from Yitzhak's tent. Another opinion is that there was some type of like a revolving door or a revolving tent sheet type of thing that as soon as one went out, the other went in. Either way, they miraculously missed themselves. And it was to Yaakov's great merit that he missed Esav at that point, because as we know, Esav screamed. Even Yitzhak himself, his father, was so scared that maybe Esav was going to do something catastrophic, chas v'shalom. And at that moment, Esav made the decision that he was going to take revenge on his younger brother for taking the blessings. That intention and thought that Esav had was actually transmitted to Rivka, his mother, through divine intervention, and therefore Rivka came and told Yaakov, I think you need to leave. I want you to leave this place. I don't want your brother to harm you. He's planning on doing something horrible. What did Rivka do? What do all good wives do? They go, and they're always able to convince their husband. But look how smart she was. She doesn't come to Yitzhak and say, Esav's very angry about what Yaakov did. No, she came a better way. She comes and she says, I'm not approving of the local girls, the local bachelorettes for our son, our holy son, Yaakov. Let's send him back to my brother's home. Hopefully, and we know through divine inspiration that there are daughters there. He has daughters, cousins. So let's have Yaakov go there. Yitzhak says, wow, that's a great idea. And then both Yitzhak and Rivka summon Yaakov at the end of last week's Parashat, give them his blessing. They bless him to go and multiply and fruitful and succeed. And so Yaakov Avinu does. Look at the wisdom of a woman. This is, as we allude to it, as a bina yetera, a greater, deeper understanding, especially when it comes to human nature. And so it was. So there are two reasons why the beginning of this week's Torah portion reads Vayetze Yaakov. Number one, because Rivka knew to avoid confrontation between her sons, he should leave. And number two, that the possible girls that he could marry were not good, and she wanted her son to marry a better girl. That is the two reasons. Now we read in this week's Torah portion that Yaakov goes out. He's on his way, and all of a sudden God makes a miracle, and he travels very fast, and he gets to a certain place, and the sun sets. Everything goes down. What does a traveler do when the sun sets? They go to sleep. And so it was. Yaakov Avinu goes to sleep, and God reveals himself to Yaakov and gives him a prophecy. And I'll read for you the verse. The verse is in chapter 28, verse 12. It says as follows, Vayahalom, and behold, Jacob has a dream. Vehine sulam mutzav arza. There is a ladder which is placed, and its foot is on the ground. Virosho magia hashamayma, and the top of the ladder reaches the sky. Vehine malache Elohim olim veyoredim bo, and behold, the angels of God are going up and down. So we know the basic commentary going up and down. There were different angels which were going to provide protection and guidance for Yaakov, different ones from in Eretz Yisrael to outside of the land of Israel. And they were switching. But there was a lot more going on at that moment. Zera Shimshon quotes the Midrash, a beautiful Midrash. Midrash says that this dream was not only a dream about a ladder and angels, it was also alluding to something else. The Midrash says the ladder was alluding to the ramp of the altar in the Bet HaMikdash and in the tabernacle. The Mizbeach, the altar, had a ramp. That's how you got on it. The Torah says not to have stairs for specific reasons. And the ramp is alluded to by the ladder. That's number one. Number two, Mutzav Arza, the very fact that it is connected to the ground, that alludes to the Mizbeach itself, to the altar. Rosho Magia Shamaima, and the top of the ladder reaching the sky is the korbanot themselves, which penetrate HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly from Bnei Israel. And the malachim that are going up and down are the kohanim. So this dream was not only limited to the dream that had now, the switching of angels, of ones that are off guard and now ones that are getting on duty. It was also alluding to the connection of Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu by means of service in the Bet HaMikdash. And the Midrash continues, says it also alludes to another event. The ladder alluding to Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, as Mount Sinai was used for Moses to get from the earth to Shamayim. And Mutzav Arza, the fact that it is on the ground, that was the rest of Bnei Israel. The rest of Bnei Israel was Betachtit Har, right at the foot of the bottom of the mountain. Rosho Magia Shamayma, the Midrash says, and that was the fire that burnt all the way up to Shamayim when Mount Sinai was being illuminated by the very fact that the Torah is being given on it. And the last, the malachim going up and down, are alluded to Aharon and Moshe. Another correlation. So the Midrash saying, it's very important what's going on right now with the angels, with the swap of guard. But more is actually taking place. Yitzhak Avinu is given also the view and another correlation to korbanot, to services in the temple, and also to the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. The Zera Shimshon says, I love it, beautiful midrash. However, what is the connection to the reason that he is being showed this right now? Out of all times, is now the time when he is leaving his parents' home. He's got a lot to do and a lot to take care of in his life. Now God needs to show him a revelation of what alludes to the korbanot, the services in the Mizbeach, in the temple, and to Mount Sinai. Yeah, right now, at age 63, after taking the blessings of his brother, after being told by his parents to leave to find himself a better place. Now's the time he's got to be shown this by God, the Zera Shimshon asks. Listen to how he answers. He answers, there's a verse in last week's Torah portion. It says, it's in chapter 28, verse 1. It says, Vayikra Yitzhak leYaacov vayvarech oto. Yitzhak calls Jacob before he sends him off and he blesses him. The Midrash Rabbah tells us, you know which blessing that is? He blessed him with the blessing of galut, of exile. And right away the Zera Shimshon asks, what type of blessing is the blessing of exile? No one wants to be blessed with exile. They want to be blessed with tranquility, with peace, with happiness, with exile. So the Zera Shimshon now brings another midrash. This one's going to tie it all up beautifully. He says, remember when Abraham was 70 years old? What happened when Abraham was 70 years old? That was the Brit Ben Abitarim. That was the original covenant that God and Abraham made. This was 5 years prior to him leaving his hometown, 5 years prior to Lech Lecha. And at the age of 99, finally he had his Brit Milah. So we're talking 29 years prior to that. God comes to Abraham. He reveals himself to him. According to some commentaries, for the first time. According to others, this was not the first time. But at age 70, the Midrash says he had a revelation. The revelation was God showed Abraham 4 things. He showed him hell, Gehinnom. He showed him Galut, exile. He showed him Matan Torah, the giving of Torah. And he showed him Korbanot, the duties of services that take place in the temple. And God tells Abraham, out of these 4 things, if your descendants take care to fulfill the 2 last ones, that of Torah and service, Korbanot, then the first 2 are going to be irrelevant. But if they disregard those last 2, the first 2 will be relevant. Lo alenu Gehinnom, as well as Galut. But then God, out of his mercy and his love for Abraham's commitment, the Midrash says, asks him, out of the first 2, choose one of them to be your children's punishment.
Galut.
Only one of them. And what did Abraham obviously choose? Exile, Galut. Because if he would have chosen Gehinnom, Lo alenu, hell, that means a person sins, that's where they find themselves. No. This way God could be more compassionate and bear the sin and say, instead of going to the final destination, we'll give you a chance along the way. And that is called Galut, exile. Based on this, the Zera Shimshon says, Yitzhak's bracha was an amazing bracha. The blessing of exile is actually saving his descendants, saving Yaacov, being Abraham's descendant, from the first option, Lo alenu, of going to Gehinnom. But now, the Zera Shimshon says, Yaakov just got this blessing, and he was very taken aback. Even though you're telling me Galut is a blessing, it's really not. You know, it's like, what's worse? To break a leg or to lose a leg, chas v'shalom. They're both bad, but no one still wants their leg to be broken, even though it's better than the second option. So Yaakov was still not at ease. He wasn't comfortable with the blessing his father gave him. He actually was worried. The Zera Shimshon says, and to that effect, God comes and reveals himself through a dream, which alludes to something happening right now, the change of guard of the angels, but also alludes to 2 more important things. God was telling Yaakov Avinu the answer to his worry, the answer to him being puzzled on what type of blessing Abba just gave me. God was telling him, those 2 things that I'm alluding to, Korbanot, which is the service, and Matan Torah, which is the Torah, those are the 2 things that if you pay attention to, if you carry that out in your life and your children's lives, and forevermore for Bnei Israel, that's what's going to protect them from Galut, from exile. And the Zera Shimshon said that's exactly why right now God was alluding to those 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves now in Galut, especially that we don't live in Eretz Yisrael. And even though those who live in Eretz Yisrael, it's not the way it should ideally be. It's a very scary time. It has always been a scary time, ever since the temple has been destroyed. Until Mashiach comes, we are permanently in Galut no matter where we live. But the Torah, God told Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to transmit to us that there is something to do about it. There's a way to keep ourselves safe and sane and successful. That is through Korbanot, which is service, which translate today as prayer, and through Matan Torah, through the study of Torah, which translate as education. We are obligated to educate ourselves through the wisdom of the Torah, and to pray in any time of need, and to transmit that to our children and our grandchildren. Because this Galut, unfortunately, has been very long, and no one knows when it could end. We're waiting for it any moment, any day. But unfortunately, we have to prepare also for the worst, which means we don't know when it could come, and we need to keep on infusing our lives with Torah study, with educating ourselves and our children, with prayer. I say it always and I'll say it again. It is said in the name of the Rogachover. Good Sephardic name, right? No, Ashkenaz, but that's fine. He says as follows. He says, when one prays to God, they are speaking to God. And when one studies Torah, God is speaking to them. God wants this connection for us. He knows that's how we thrive best. He knows that's how we do our best. And therefore, so many years ago, this was told to our forefathers. Galut will come if the Jewish people are not 100% with God. But even if that happens, it's not a complete annihilation. It's not Gehinom. Because there's a way to navigate through that. That is through Torah, and that is through service, prayer, which we relate to as tefillah. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us. Amen. That we should always be strong in our Torah study, strong in our tefillah. Find that inspiration, that enthusiasm, that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which as Jews is there and available for all of us to find. Amen v'amen.